Hey, it's Klayton and welcome to episode 11 of Ask Celldweller. You know, I got a sneak preview of next week's Game of Thrones and you're not going to believe what happens to Tyrion Lannister.
Hey Celldweller, what kind of program would you suggest for someone who's just starting out, maybe mixing riffs and synth effects, something that's simple to use for people who haven't really tried before?
It's kind of a subjective question, Christopher, because it depends on what platform you are, Mac, PC. In today's day and age, the playing field has been leveled pretty evenly across Mac and PC, and most programs are supported on both platforms. I am a Cubase user, Steinberg Cubase, and you mentioned the word riffs. So I would say if you were doing strictly electronic music, something like Ableton Live would be a really good place to start. But if you're blending more organic sounds like riffs with electronics, I would suggest you go with Cubase, or they also make Cubase Lite, like lighter versions of Cubase, which are less expensive, not as complicated, and might be simpler for you to wrap your head around. I'm so glad you asked that question, Eric, because nobody has to date. I do love comedy, and I've been listening to comedy from my earliest childhood memories. As early as I can remember listening to music, I can remember listening to comedy. Starting with the great and the amazing Bill Cosby, I could probably recite most of his early albums to you by heart. Boom, boom, flap, boom, boom, flap. Some other more current and modern people that I really enjoy are guys like Jim Gaffigan, Brian Posehn, girls like Sarah Silverman, Lisa Lampanelli, Mitch Hedberg, who is unfortunately not with us anymore, but very funny, Greg Giraldo, very funny, sketch-based comedy like Key and Peele and The Whitest Kids You Know. And not to be outdone by Bill Cosby, there is also Bill Cosby Bukowski.
Hi Klayton, Maria here. Out of all of the venues that you've played in, which one has been your favorite? And I remember seeing somewhere that you don't like touring. Why not? Thanks.
It's really hard to say what my favorite venue is, Maria, because I, for instance, played a gig in Brazil, and it was outdoors. It wasn't really a venue, it was an outdoor festival, but there were 25,000 people there. I hit the stage at dawn, so the sun is literally coming up, and I'm out there with Growling Machines, who I was performing with, looking out at 25,000 people, and it was probably one of the most surreal moments of my life. The reason I can't actually specify a venue ties into your next question about me not liking touring. It's because I don't like touring. My favorite part and possibly only redeeming quality of touring is the people that come to see me, and then I get to hang out with them after the show. Other than that, everything else related to touring is not really my cup of tea. I don't really like traveling all the time and not really sleeping and weird eating schedules and that whole deal. But even more than that, it's because I really love to be in my studio, and I really love to create, and I love to be making music as much as I possibly can. And I don't create nearly as much music when I'm on the road. I'm not sure if he's technically considered a superhero, but he is a comic book character and one of my childhood favorites. That would be Ghost Rider. Not the Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider, because I feel like those movies completely destroyed my image of who I think Ghost Rider is. So not the movies, the comics. And as far as how many burgers I can eat in a day, challenge accepted, Daryl.
Hey Celldweller, how do you do, bro? My name is Walter, I'm talking here for Japan, near Tokyo, and I know you love Japanese culture, but I don't know which one are your favorite Japanese producer, bands, or whatever. What you like from Japan? Thank you. See you.
Thank you, Walter, for your question all the way from Japan. Ironically, a lot of the music that I like coming from Japan is electronic oriented, and not just current stuff, but even older stuff. So guys like Ajapai, who is a modern kind of dubstep producer, I really think his productions are great. And then I go back as far as guys like Ken Ishii, who did almost a Detroit-style techno. There's also the Ghost in the Shell soundtrack, the electronic one, not necessarily the score one, with some great kind of techno and electronic music on there. And surprisingly, there's guys like Kitaro, who I really enjoyed. I've seen performances from Kitaro as well as listened to many of his albums. Very, very inspirational. And then when it came to the look of Japan that I really liked, it was bands like Duran Gray and Malice Miser and bands like that had a real eye for theatricality and really cool hair colors and style. So I have pulled a lot of influence from Japan, so thank you, Japan, for all the influence you've given me.
I'm pushing through.
Well, Kendra, there was a time where my mood was completely directly related to whether or not I could even create music. But thankfully, I have gotten past that. The mood I'm in doesn't always determine whether or not I can make music. The best moments are when I am in a particular mood and I can keep the lights down and there's nobody else around in the facility and I can just kind of get into a moment. But I've learned to write regardless of my situation. I do get sucked into a song, especially when I get into a certain part of the process. I get very excited because I can hear what it needs to do and I just have to figure out how to get there, and of course my brain and my ears can hear it much more quickly than my hands can move to get it there. So I get sucked in and then realize that I haven't eaten, gone to the bathroom, or slept. And those are the most exciting times for me as far as musical creation is concerned.
Hey Klayton. For music producers, what are 3 important rules for a good mixdown? Thanks.
It's hard to pick just 3, but I would say 3 that are very important. 1, clarity, the relationship between your kick drum and your bass. In the beginning of my career, I'd get a huge bass sound and a huge kick drum and be like, my God, if I put these together, it gets even huger. Wrong, it gets smaller. So you need to make sure that the relationship between them is solid. EQ as well, ducking things out of the way. You can feel free in a mix. If something's getting in the way of another sound, you can kind of pull it out of the way and let that other sound kind of ride up a little bit. 2, compression and limiting. These are the tools that help keep something in the pocket. So a vocal, keep it right where you need to hear it. Limiting, I use a limiter on all of my vocals. 3, and very importantly, is mastering. It doesn't necessarily mean you need to master it yourself. You can send things out to get mastered, but a lot of modern producers are doing their own mastering. I am kind of a mix. I do about 75% of my own mastering and I send out about 25% of it. But you can really screw your mix up if you don't master it correctly, but in the same sense, you can also save a mix and make it much better if you do it the right way. So I would definitely advise you check out a program like Isotope Ozone, which is a great mastering plugin. FabFilter has like the Pro L and the Pro Q and the Pro MB. There's a bunch of really great tools you could use and learn them. And there's a ton of tutorials on YouTube. Do that and you will be great. And he looks over at him and he's like, don't call me an imp. What a great episode. Thanks for joining me again for episode 11 of Ask Celldweller. Make sure to subscribe, like, or share, and ask me your questions in the comments below, or even more excitingly, hit this link in the moon and submit your video, and I will get to those in the future. Stay tuned, and for now, this is Klayton signing off.